everyone? Welcome to a new episode of Mostly Wrong Opinions. I am Tyrone. That is Devin. We are about to get into this rewind episode, and it is about The Matrix.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
This movie came out 22 years ago. And when I saw this film,
1999.
I was like 13 maybe. And it was something, this movie itself changed the way cinema is like made.
Yep, it sure did. I think there are very few movies that you can just like point to and be like, yep, this movie is where Hollywood turned. They just like, boop, boop, boop. This was one of them.
This was directed by the Wachowski brothers. They're now the Wachowski sisters, and the newest one that's coming out, which is The Matrix Resurrections, is directed by Lily Wachowski, and I've got to say, man, the way that they crafted this world, especially with the first movie,
amazing.
So awesome, man.
We talked a lot about the creativity of Edward Scissorhands, how it was just like oozing from like every shot.
Easy.
Here it is again, gushing from every shot. Little in joke.
Hey, this is
little in joke.
Yeah.
The creativity is just everywhere in this film. Between the way the film looks and the way people dress, the way the real world looks versus the Matrix world. And then of course I didn't even touch on the philosophical aspirations or ideas in this film. It's incredible. And not unlike Spider-Man 2, this film has really, really held up well. And I'm surprised by this, because this movie's about technology and it's about the internet, kind of. And you would think, okay, well, a movie came out in 1999, that's really got to age terribly. Nah, it's spot on. As a matter of fact, a lot of things they said, you don't even realize until you think about it how forward thinking they were. At the time, the technology and the internet, this was a brand new shiny thing full of possibility and optimism. But in the Matrix, it's horrible. it's a hellscape. It's a place that keeps you in the dark. It keeps you dumb. It keeps you ignorant to the real world around you. This kind of stuff, it feels very, very relevant to today's world.
Social
Incredible.
media.
That's right. It's all here.
Social media is the Matrix right now, people.
The metaverse, meta, it's all here, man. It's the movie's aged really, really well. Now, some of the things that were, I thought, completely eye-popping at the time, and the things that probably, like we talked about how cinema like changed on these little dimes. Those moments, like Neo doing like the little backwards thing, they're not as like eye-popping anymore. I think they're still cool. They're even cooler knowing that they were done physically, right? It wasn't completely CGI, right? It was actually a guy who was Keanu Reeves on wires, So that's kind of cool. But some of that stuff, it's not quite as eye-popping. But what does stand the test of time is the ideas behind the film. Like I said, the philosophical ideas of what's the point of being free if you live in like a hellscape, right? Is it okay to be free? Would you rather live in a happy utopia as a slave, or would you rather?
You're what Cypher said, though. Remember?
Yeah, exactly. He said he wants to be plugged back in. He doesn't like this anymore.
He's like,
ignorance is bliss.
This steak, is not real, or my mind is telling me that it's real, but ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. Yep. I talk a lot about movies where you can kind of dig at them, right? This movie, man, you can dig forever. I feel like you will never quite get to the bottom of this film. The level of extreme detail in this film is crazy. Like Like if you look at this film kind of like a biblical story or a Jesus story, it's all there. Neo is the one. He died in the third room, just like Jesus died in the third day. Like it's all there. Trinity, the Holy Trinity. It's like the details are all they're deep in there. There's so many ways you can view this film, and I love it. I love movies where there's just a lot there to chew on, just like Cypher's steak. Juice.
Yeah. Juice. What?
Gushy. People are like, what are they talking about?
Y'all just don't know, okay? So the dialogue in this film, this film in itself, like when I watch this movie back, I see myself repeating the dialogue because it's just so good.
Yeah, me too.
when you see Morpheus and Neo when they first meet up and they get into, he starts explaining what the Matrix is, and then he's like, "This isn't real." He's like, "What is
real?
What is the definition? Real?"
Yeah, that's right.
It's just so cool, dude.
And I like, and we talk about the dialogue in Morpheus. I like how well defined Morpheus is. Right, Morpheus is all about freedom. To an extreme degree, right?
Let's get Malcolm X.
That's right. Morpheus will always give you at least two options, and then he'll just walk away from you. He's like, there are two ways out of this building. One is through the scaffolding. The other is with the agents. I leave it up to you. You're like, whoa! He just hung up the phone. You're like, damn. He's like, you gotta choose. You got the freedom to choose. I'm not gonna force you. I'm not gonna force you to come with me. You gotta choose. And he's like, you can take the red pill or the blue pill. And then Neil's about to reach. He's like, wait. Just know that once you take that pill, there's no coming back. He's like, you make sure everything's clear. He gives them options. And all that stuff is set up so well because later in the film, Morpheus forces Neo into another two-part thing where Neo has to choose. And as the Oracle says, in one hand, you'll have your life. And in the other hand, you'll have Morpheus's life. Yours is yours. And it's like, oh, it's like the level of freedom up to it. But even with that, it's kind of cool because the movie's also a little bit about fate, right? About this battle between fate and freedom. They say, oh, you're fated to be the one, but not really. Only if you choose to be.
In the beginning, when they met, and they was like, "Do you believe in fate?" And he's like, "I don't believe in not choosing, my destiny."
He's like, "I know exactly
what you feel."
Yeah, that's right. Like I really love that kind of stuff. And they're like, Neo, you are fated to be the one. You are the one, but only if you choose. Because there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Whoa, it was hidden. And
remember, then I can only show you the door. You are the one that has to walk through it.
That's right. That's right. Beautiful.
We've seen this movie poetic. A lot of times, people.
Even if you haven't seen this movie that many times, these things, they stick with you. You know what I mean? These kind of phrases, they stick with you because they're so powerful, not just on their own, but within the context of the film.
Don't believe that there's a spoon there. Just remember that.
Just remember the truth. What truth?
What truth?
There is no spoon.
Right. Oh boy!
But the movie really boils itself down when Neo goes to the Oracle, and he's expecting the Oracle to tell him his fate, and he walks in, and the Oracle is deeply unimpressed by him. Just she's like, she doesn't even look at him. She's like, give me a second. I'm making cookies. Okay, I got cookies to make. Give me a second. And when he asks, he says, so am I the one? And she's like, look up on the door. And he looks up, and it's Latin. It says, know thyself. I can't tell you whether you're the one. You gotta know yourself. Like being the one is like being in love. It's like no one can tell you that.
The thing about this film that I actually didn't notice until you brought it up years ago about a green hue. You know, in this film and all the other ones that came by it, is what do you think that represented? So you know, in the film, and you know, what do you think that represented, that background of that green hue?
Yeah, the green hue is a big deal in the Matrix because obviously when they film the film within the shot, there's a lot of green things, right? But only when they're in the Matrix. When they're out of the Matrix, a lot of blue. But when they're in the Matrix, it's green like an old computer, you know, like it's like because they are literally inside a computer. But what makes the green hue notable is that I bet you, Tyrone, if the version of the Matrix you remember probably wasn't the version you watched, because the movie has been changed. It's been changed twice. When you watched it in the theater, it looked probably pretty similar to how you just watched it. I'm assuming you watched it on streaming or something,
right?
But when you saw it on Blu-ray, that green hue was extreme. It was really, really heavy. And that's because when this film came out in 1999, a new process for color correcting, digital color correcting, became very popular. It was becoming popular. So they color corrected this film to an extreme degree. And that green hue, that famous green hue, they laid it on thick. So most people remember
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, that's right. So most people remember this film being really, really green. And that's the version of the film that's been seen the most. This slightly less green, the theatrical level of greenness is relatively new within the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
The Matrix is a program, and inside the program there are other programs like Agent Smith.
He's more like the personification of the Matrix, right? Yeah. Like he is an agent of the Matrix, and he's like a police officer. He keeps things in line. He's an agent of the status quo.
But by the other two films, he's like spreading.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about the other two films. We're talking about this one. In this film, he is yeah, exactly. He is a personification of the Matrix, and it's no coincidence that he is depicted as a middle-aged white man, right? Holding up the status quo. Right. This is not an accident. The Wachowskis were very, very purposeful in making all the agents middle-aged white men with brown hair.
You all look the same to me.
Right. They were very, very purposeful for this.
There was not one black agent.
Not one black agent, not one female agent, not a young agent, not an old agent. They were all white, middle-aged men, and who associated themselves with the police. Like you always saw them walking down the halls with the police behind them, and the people who are free, the people who have been freed of the Matrix, they're mostly black and brown. You know, so you can see where the Wachowskis were going with this, like about the status quo trying their hardest to literally kill. Right, the free thinkers, the people who were rebelling. If you're a free person, and if you see an agent, what do? Run your ass off. Right?
You run your ass off.
And then you do that because every person who's gone up against the status quo, I mean, an agent, has died. Right? You don't survive. Yeah. You don't make it.
The hidden messages, man. The hidden messages.
It's deep.
It's deep.
Now, there's another message here, and it's become more popular now because the Wachowskis, as you said earlier, when they filmed this film, they were the Wachowski brothers, and as you know, they are trans women now. So this film, they've talked very publicly about how this film is a trans allegory. It's about their experience as trans women and how they started life as Thomas Anderson, but their true self, their real self, was Neo. Right, someone special. One thing I forgot to mention with the trans allegory was the character Switch. Apparently, that character was supposed to be, they originally wrote that character, it was supposed to be a female in the real world, but a male in the Matrix. That's why the character's name is Switch. But the producers were like, no. We don't. That's a little too much.
Joel Seaver was like, wait a minute. It's 1999.
Yeah, no. Exactly. Pick one. It's got a male or female. Pick one.
But nowadays, that would be just like, it's in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it wouldn't, no one probably even know.
No, they'd be like, oh, okay.
And knowing this, and when you watch this film, I find certain parts of the film to be kind of emotional when you watch it, because Lana Wachowski has talked a lot about her suicide attempt, and she attempted suicide on a train platform.
I know the train platform will be empty at night because it always is. I let the B train go by because I know the A train will be next and it doesn't stop. When I see the headlight, I take off my backpack and I put it on the bench. It has the note in front of it. I try not to think of anything but jumping as the train comes.
And where does the big showdown between Agent Smith and Neo happen? In a train station. And she talks about how she got all the way to the platform and she planned it out. She was like, I'm gonna jump on these tracks because this being me is just too hard. And she chose the train. She was like, I'm gonna pick the B train because she knows it runs express. It's not gonna stop. It's just gonna kill her instantly. And at that moment, she was like, no, I have to make a decision. I've got to choose one or the other. I've got to choose my current life or my true life. Clearly, she chose her true life and she survived. And in the film, we see Neo fighting Agent Smith. Again, like I said, an agent of the status quo. Yeah, and in that scene, Agent Smith, yeah, it's right. In that scene, Agent Smith does the worst thing that a person can do to a trans person. He dead names her.
It is the sound of your death. Goodbye, Mr. Anderson.
He says, goodbye, Mr. Anderson. And Neo's like, no, my name is Neo. And it's like, boom, it's like he explodes out. Yeah. He literally rises above. You know what I mean? Oh, it's great. It's great. It's awesome. So this movie, again, like it's got so many different layers, so many different interpretations. It's such a great film. And Tyrone, I can't help but notice that we've barely even talked about the movie's about, because the movie's about so much stuff, man.
Yeah, this is, you know, we could talk for days about how this movie looks. We could talk for days how this movie is written, and we could talk about the actors.
Yeah, you could totally. The religious iconography in the film. How Cypher is a Cypher. I mean, he's like hidden, a secret, you know. He often wear and of course he's a turncoat, and he often wears red like the devil. He's also the only person who's got a goatee like the devil. Like, you know, there's all kinds of great like religious stuff going on in here, you know. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
The fighting in this is just chef kiss on that one too. I heard that they spent 6 months training before they even stepped on the film of training for fighting in this.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it, because it all felt, I'm not some kind of professional fighter, but it all looked and felt genuine to me. When Neo said, I know Kung Fu, and he showed Morpheus, I was like, damn, that dude know Kung Fu. You know, like, yes, amazing.
Boy, man, I just love the way that scene just went out to where at the end he wins and he's like, do you know why I beat you? And he's like, you're too fast. He's like, do you think that me being stronger or faster has anything to do with
my muscles in this place? Do you think that's air you're breathing? And then that carries over later. He's sweaty. He's like pouring with sweat. He's like breathing hard. He's like, and Morpheus is sitting there, no sweat. He's just, because he knows that this is a computer program and he's manipulating the program. Now, later on, when Neo fights the agent, Neo doesn't sweat. And he doesn't breathe hard because he knows that this is fake. This is not real. And he's manipulating everything. He has learned the lesson. Like, I'm like, oh, it's all coming together. Like the details here, the little details like sweat. It's amazing. Details like the shapes of people's glasses. If you pay attention to the shapes of people's glasses, you know Cypher was a villain because his glasses were square, where everyone else's, all the other heroes' glasses were round. Like, little details. It's great. It's great stuff.
So shoot, in the new movie, if we come along with someone that is that comes into the world and they're supposed to be like a good guy and they have on square glasses,
that's right.
That's a bad guy.
That's a bad guy.
Don't believe that person.
Don't trust him. Don't trust him.
That is a malwire in the system.
And I like, again, the details in this film, man. I liked how when Neo first wakes up and he first goes to the Matrix, he's wearing like slacks and a jacket. Yep. But then he realizes this is not real. I can wear whatever I want to. So as the film goes on, his outfit becomes more and more fantastical. His jacket gets longer. By the sequels, which we're not gonna talk about, he's wearing some kind of crazy like robe. Like you could tell like how you can see the evolution.
He's wearing like a robe / gi.
Yeah, exactly. You can see his evolution of like he's like his heightened version of himself. You know, the details in this film. I love it. Great film.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating on this. There's so much stuff to just go through and pick on this.
This video would be 3 hours long.
Exactly.
Okay?
So
there are literally books written on this movie. So there's a lot to talk about.
Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and rate it. This film is amazing, man. But I'm not gonna give this film a 10. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Yep, there you go. We've been fortunate because we watched some really good movies lately, man. I'm giving this a 9. I loved it. I think this is a great film. It's great on so many different ways. It's great how they made such a personal story, a story that involves like a literal suicide attempt. Mm-hmm. They made this into like an action film. You know what I mean? Like it's something universal, something that everyone could really like. And again, if that's not your cup of tea, fine. View it as a religious allegory. It's all that detail. It's there too. Fine. You don't like that? Fine. View it as some kind of apocalyptic, futuristic thing about the horrors of technology. That's all there too. Like it's great. I really liked this film. One of my favorite films. Awesome.
One of my favorite films also. People, watch it if you have it. It's on HBO Max. They have all of them, but this is the most important one. Watch this one.
Apparently, and I haven't watched the sequels in a while, but apparently the Wachowskis were quite shocked by the response of the first film because I don't know if you remember, but a lot of like far right people really latched onto this film and they started calling themselves red pills and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And so the Wachowskis were really like horrified by that because obviously that is not what they were intending, right?
No.
And so apparently these sequels are a response to that. And viewed from that lens, I can see some redeemable qualities in the sequels, but in my mind, there's only one Matrix film, and it's The Matrix.
Well, that is our review on The Matrix. I gave this film a 9.5. Devin gave this film a 9. It is a wonderful, wonderful film. You know, check this film out before you see The Resurrections. That's our review and rating for The Matrix.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Thank you for clicking on this video, man. We've been working very hard at putting these videos out for you guys. We really appreciate all the support that we've been having. But we would like for you to do 2 things. First, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with every video that we put out. The second thing you need to do is comment down below what you want us to review, okay? Because it's like we've been, back and forth with each other, stuff that we just like to do. We've been just bullshitting around, and like,
we would do that anyway.
We do that anyway. But he's like,
but we want you to do it too. Yeah, bullshit with us.
Bullshit with us, man. Let us know what you like, what you want us to, what you want us to review, and we will look at that and be like, all right, cool, let's get it. You know what I'm saying? If you liked this review, give us a thumbs up, all right? Really appreciate it, buddy. Or you can give us a thumbs down. That button is still there. Whichever one you choose, it is your opinion. But just remember one thing: it's mostly wrong.
No, you need the end music. Yeah.
Come on! Come on!